Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Kev's Movie Corner. I am Kev and this week we are talking about Spartacus. This movie was released in 1960. It stars Kirk Douglas as your title character of Spartacus, Laurence Oliver, Tony Curtis, Gene Simmons, and Charles Laughton. A brief synopsis from IMDb is the slave Spartacus survives brutal training as a gladiator and leads a violent revolt against the decadent Roman Republic as the ambitious Crassus seeks to gain power by crushing the uprising. This is a long, historic, epic, I guess you'd consider it like a film epic, kind of. It's a very big kind of very big film. Ben-Hur's kind of the same way. Trying to think of other things like this that are. It's usually it's a gladiator movie, so it's a very big, just a big movie. It's just a big, it's just big and very big ordeal. It's just a big thing. I use big a lot there. So this, a lot of these characters are based off of actual people, and actual events. It's not, they're all changed. There are some people that never existed. There are some changes to the stories. But this starts out with Spartacus working as a slave in a mine. He doesn't do well in the mine. He kind of disobeys people, so he gets sentenced to death by starvation. At this point, he gets noticed by the owner of a gladiator school who buys him and decides to train him as a gladiator, where Spartacus ends up meeting the love of his life, who will continue to show up in this Varinia, something like that. Varinia, something like that. She stays as a prominent character in this. She's played by Gene Simmons. Kirk Douglas plays Spartacus. I think I said that already. But anyway, he goes through training. At one point, Crassus, who is a senator in Rome, is played by Laurence Oliver, comes to visit the school. The ladies that join him, or the ladies that are with him and his, I don't know if you call him his understudy, his friend, however you want to call the guy that's with him. The ladies that are with those two decide that they want to pick out two gladiators to fight for their viewing pleasure while they're there. One of them ends up being Spartacus. They pick out three others to fight for two battles while they're there. And Spartacus and the other man who he fights have vowed to not to die before watching anybody else fight to the death anymore. So instead of Spartacus almost loses, but instead of killing him, his his challenger goes after the two who are, or the senator from Rome throws his weapon at them and then gets killed by them. He gets killed for that, gets hung up in the barracks. The next day, there's a revolt led by Spartacus, at which they kill the guards and the leader of the trainers, and they break out of the school, and Spartacus leads the slaves across Italy, slowly taking over towns and gathering slaves the whole time to he slowly builds an army of slaves who he's freeing to basically return, promising to leave Italy and return them to their homes out of the grasp of Rome, basically. At the same time, keep getting cutbacks to Rome where the Senate is not happy about this. You've got a group of slaves who are uprising and they don't know what to do about this. They keep they're trying to figure out how to stop this. They don't want slaves uprising in Rome itself. So Crassus is also trying to become a dictator. You've got one of Gracchus, I think is how you pronounce his name, who's played by Charles Laughton. He's kind of him and Crassus don't like each other, but he sees what Crassus is trying to become a dictator. But he's kind of a corrupt politician as well. So you've got these two kind of corrupt politicians going at each other with different ideas of what's trying to go on. One's kind of like, well, he's kind of a corrupt politician of like, well, you can work with the enemy if that gets, we kind of want the Republic to stay, while the other one's trying to take Rome into a different direction and wants to be a dictator, basically. So you've got that whole kind of battle going on between the two. And one doesn't care if the slaves leave. He's kind of like, well, if they leave, it doesn't really bother us. We get rid of them. We don't really have a problem. The other one doesn't want the uprising, so he sees it. Crassus sees it as I want to kill all of them and make them pay for what they've done. So you see kind of this ordeal going back and forth. Eventually, Spartacus and Crassus come to fight each other. And Crassus is named the leader of Rome before this. Spartacus and Crassus their armies come to fight each other. Crassus and the Roman army win, with help from a couple of other armies, defeating the army of slaves, and kill most of them. And they promise not to crucify all of the slaves as long as they tell who Spartacus is. Which one is Spartacus? Because that's who Crassus is after. He wants Spartacus so that he can basically put him on trial for the crimes that he's done. At this point, all of them say that they are Spartacus. So he decides to crucify all of them on the road to Rome. Spartacus and one of his personal slaves end up being the last ones to be crucified. And he takes Spartacus's wife and his son, who is now Variana's child and Spartacus's child, as his own personal kind of lover and slave in his home as well. Spartacus and Crassus's personal, like, servant, prior personal servant, or from earlier in the movie, he ends up having them fight to the death just outside of Rome when he learns that Spartacus is who the last person here, and then has Spartacus crucified when he wins, but says that he does not want he doesn't want anybody to know that he was there. He doesn't want him to have a marked grave. He wants him to be burned and then his ashes spread about so nobody knows that he was there. He says he's afraid of him more than anybody. He was afraid of him more now that he's there than he was even when he was fighting him, which is interesting. At this point, you have Gracchus. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his name. The old senator who was kind of corrupt, who has now been considered a traitor of Rome. He's been exiled, or he's about to be exiled by Crassus, and he decides to get Variana and Spartacus's son out of Rome. He sneaks them out from under Crassus, gives them their freedom, and he, before ending his own life, and as she is leaving the next morning, she sees Spartacus being crucified, or hanging on a cross, still alive, but she shows him his son and tells him that she will make sure that his son knows who he was and what he did, and then leaves out of town as Spartacus watches them leave and dies on the cross. And that's how the movie ends. It's kind of sad, actually. There is a couple things that I did read that, that kind of go against that. Spartacus wasn't ever crucified, according to what I found. He believed to have died in battle. He did actually fight Crassus for, the reasons. He was actually a slave. He did lead an uprising against an uprising like that. So, it's somewhat historically accurate, I guess you could consider it. I don't know. It's not like a truthful, but it's kind of historically accurate. Couple things that I thought was interesting. This movie did get it won 4 Academy Awards. Best cinematography, I believe. Best supporting actor. For the man the guy who played the owner of the gladiator training facility. It's directed by Stanley Kubrick. I thought it was funny. Kirk Douglas apparently got so mad after Kubrick removed close-ups during Spartacus's crucifixion that he attacked him with a folding chair. That was kind of comical to me. There's a lot of instances where there's been stuff cut out and added back in, and cut out and added back in over time because of different censors and things like that. It took 6 weeks to film the the last battle sequence, which had more than 8,000 extras. It was shot in, I think it said it was shot in Spain with Spanish troops. The big battle scene at the end. So that's interesting. But yeah, it is a long film. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes. I say that. It's about 3 hours. There's a 7-minute intro, like, prologue thing where it's just music for like 5 minutes and then like 2 minutes of credits. So you can skip through most of that, which I did. I fast forwarded through it. It was like 7.5 minutes before you actually see any movie or anything happens. And then there's intermission, which is again like 5 minutes. So it's like 3 hours long. So it's not actually that super long. And it doesn't seem, it flows really well. So it doesn't actually seem like you're sitting there for 3 hours. It was one of the better epics that I've watched. I enjoyed this, I think, more than I did Ben-Hur. Yeah, I'm gonna say I enjoyed this more than Ben-Hur. And I don't know if I can really say why. Yeah, I don't know if I have a reason why I enjoyed this more than Ben-Hur, but I did enjoy this more than Ben-Hur. But anyway, that I think is it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the movie. If you watched it, if not, then go watch it because it was fun. Next week we are watching Sunrise from 1927. So go watch that and join me for that next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I will talk to you guys then.